But even though I'd had this heart attack, the doctors insisted that I have the treadmill test. And I felt a bit of conflict at that time, because the nurses were saying to me, don't get out of bed, you're not to do any exercise. And I got admonished for going to the toilet and walking. And she said, no, you're not to get out of bed. If you want to go to the bathroom, I come, or we use other facilities. And so they were telling me, on the one hand, don't move, stand still, sit still. And on the other hand, I was being sent downstairs to have a treadmill test, which is not really easy. It's quite a hard test. And so I just then felt quite confused of, where do you go? I mean, who's right? Should I have had the treadmill test at that particular time? And was that the proper procedure? I do try to be careful. I've always eaten well, and I've always eaten carefully, lots of fruit and veg, and semi this and semi that, and no fat this. So it was rather disappointing to learn that, in fact, that when they said the reason I'd had the heart attack was because of cholesterol. When you see other people eating all sorts of things and you've been extra careful. I know that cholesterol is not necessarily from food. You've got your body cholesterol, which may be imbalanced or could be a cause. But that they could find no other reason. I mean, I have no heart attack, no heart trouble in the family. I don't smoke. I did when I was younger. I think everybody probably smoked in the 60s and in the 40s and 50s, but not heavily, one a day. I don't drink except at Christmas, and I eat carefully, and I do exercise. So I seem to be doing all the right things, but there you go.
They said it was cholesterol.
They said, well, that was the only thing. That was the only thing that would come up positive on what they said. This, and this. Cholesterol was the only one that was over the limit. So they put it down to cholesterol. One has to stay positive. One has to say that the doctors have done what they can do, and when they've said to you, this is mended, this is the way it's going to be, then you just have to say, yes, I believe, and say that it's over and done with, and go from there and just build your life again. You might not be able to do all the things that you did before. Your mind not be able to think as clearly as it did before, but you can get over it. You can build up your life. You do slightly less if that's what it takes. You don't have to spend time thinking about it. You do some activity, maybe physical activity or an activity with friends, or I spend a lot of time sewing, so that keeps my mind busy. And just take each day as it comes and enjoy it as much as you can, and just say that, well, that's one chapter of my life that's done with. Let's go on to the next one and enjoy it as much as you can, and think that life is good. And there's only one life to enjoy, so you might as well enjoy it. It was not just the exercise, it was not just actually doing the physical part. I found the support of the staff. They were great. They were always there for you, and that they cared for you and checked you and made sure that you felt good, and sent me home once when I didn't feel good and refused to let me do it. But they were always so positive, and saying, yes, you're going to feel better. This every time you come, it's your benefit. And then you go there and you meet other people who've been in exactly the same situation as you, some worse, some not so bad. And you talk to them, and they laugh and smile, and so you end up laughing and smiling. And as time goes on, it does recede. It recedes from the front of your mind. Because I think when you first have this and you just come out of hospital, you can't see much beside, you can't think much beyond what's happened to you, which is probably a very selfish attitude, but nevertheless, this is the forefront of your mind. But seeing other people doing other things and being told that everything's fine, then it gradually recedes to your back of your mind, and then of course you only think of it periodically when things come up to remind you of it. As a result of taking the medicine, I've found that I've had quite a few reactions to the medicine. We changed one more or less a month after I'd started, and the second one with the statins we changed about 2 months ago, and I'm having a look and see if this statin's any better. The side effects were, or are I should say, a cough which gets worse for a period of a couple of weeks, recedes slightly but never actually goes, and then returns again. My hair is falling out quite severely. I've lost a good volume of my hair, and I've been having horrendous dreams at night, really worrying dreams, really complicated dreams that I have no way to sort out. There's no way that my mind can get round the problem that's presented in this dream. And so those three are the three main side effects that I've had from the tablet. They are continuing, they're still there. I'm just hoping that I can get a reasonable cocktail that will eliminate at least one of them or two of them. Well, I wasn't scared about it. I did find out quite a lot about it before the procedure. So the nurses and the doctors did actually explain what was going on. So I knew exactly what was going on. I was a bit surprised to find it was just down in the X-ray department, as opposed to in a theatre. I was expecting it to be more or less a theatre as opposed to this, so it seemed to be very low key, and I think that kind of puts you in a low key mood, because you know, the doctors were there, and they just explained that they were going to put through the femur area, through the femoral the artery, and the television was there. So I spent my time watching the television, and then they went in, and when he showed the heart, he said, you can see that the actual artery is blocked. He told me which one it is, but I can't remember at the moment. And then he explained that he was looking at it, and then they were going to push the stent up and blow it up, and he just kind of sat there. They did give me an injection just to calm me down a little. I wasn't particularly agitated, but it's impossible not to be perfectly calm. Impossible not to be perfectly calm when you know they're going into your heart. If they're going into a muscle or something, it's a different thought, but there they are actually going into one's heart. It is a thought, so I had a bit of a tranquilizing drug just to calm me down, and I just watched them put in the stent and blow up the balloon and take it out. I did have quite a lot of pain after the process had finished, not before, but before I left the department I had a dose of, I had a morphine injection because the pain was quite severe. And that was it. I don't know how long it took, half an hour or maybe more or less, and I was back in the ward and felt good. Well, I'm certainly eating more fish, and I find it difficult to make a great deal of change actually, because I was already having skimmed milk and fruit and veg and this and the others. So what else can I change? Very little in actually the diet. We have increased the fish. We never really ate a great deal of red meat anyway. We probably reduced it a little, but it's kind of from not much to a little, and the fish from not too often to more often. But still, I still look at the fat content of the food that I buy. So that was quite frustrating really, because I couldn't, what do I change when I'd already made the effort to change? I mean, I never fry. I never cook in oil. I haven't for, gosh, 20, 30 years, not to fry, or we don't go to McDonald's, we don't eat the fish, we don't go out and eat fish and chips and things. So it just seemed, and don't have big English breakfasts. So it just seemed a bit unfair. However, who says life's fair?